Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here at the Australian Basketball Association in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm here today to do a commercial shoot for these guys. They want some action shots, a group photo for their website and marketing purposes. So I'm going to take you through how I set up my gear, what gear I'm using, and how I charge, more importantly. So hopefully you guys can take it across to your commercial photography and you may learn something. And yeah, come along for the ride. Let's go. Okay, so let's talk about the gear I'm using first of all. Obviously I'm using a commercial photography camera. I'm using a 5D Mark III, which is my go-to workhorse. I've had it for years, maybe 10 years, and it's still pretty bulletproof. I'm using two flashes today, speed lights. These speed lights are awesome. I mean, I've got the big studio strobes, but these speed lights for these on-location shoots are fantastic. And these are the bigger ones, the 600 EXRT, I think they are. And they're really good, okay? They're really, really good. I've got a couple of umbrellas in front of them, you can see there. If I jump out the way, you can see that. I'm gonna pose the kids in the D of the ring here and get them all on the same focal plane in 2 rows, but on the same focal plane pretty much, and we'll get that group shot. Now the group shot is it's a tricky one. I've stuffed up the group shot before, and it is difficult. The trick is to have enough flash or natural light and have them all on the same focal plane. Okay, next let's talk about the settings for the camera. For the group shot, I'm going to slow down the shutter speed around 160 handheld, and the flashes are on ETTL, 2 flashes on ETTL, auto ISO, but I've upped the flashes 2/3 of a stop, so there's a little bit more punch, a little bit more flashiness in the flash, if that makes sense, a little bit more brightness in the photo. Now for the action shots later, I'm going to put the long zoom lens on. I don't think I'll be using a flash. If I did, I'd use an on-camera flash, but I don't think I'm going to be close enough to get the action shots to where the flash would make any difference, but I'll have it on top of the camera in case I need to switch it on and give it a try if I'm close enough. So I've got a 70-200 for that. For the group shot here, I've got a wide 16-35 lens, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I think. So one thing I wanted to stress for you guys is you've got to test your equipment, okay? You've got to test your equipment. Now I set everything up yesterday, and I found that there was a connection problem between the trigger, the flash trigger, and the camera. There was a connection problem there because this camera's getting old and there's a little bit of dirt in there or something, or I don't know what it was, but anyway, I cleaned it out and it was working. But I got here today and set it all up again, having tested it yesterday, and the same problem was there, okay? So I got here early enough where I could troubleshoot the problem and go to my backup plan if need be. Backup plan, you know, if you've got a second camera, use your second camera. Backup plan for me was just to put the flash on-camera flash, you know, sit the speed light on top of the camera. But I've got it working, I've got the trigger working. But there's nothing worse, and believe me, I've done a ton of commercial shoots, there's nothing worse than getting here and getting freaked out, getting flustered, you know, and you've got to tell the client, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, my camera's not working, or, you know, this and that's not working. They don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it, particularly if it's weddings. And let it be said, I don't do weddings for that reason. It's just too stressful. There's plenty of other ways to make money in photography, in my opinion, rather than doing those live events like weddings. Something like this, if you did stuff it up, I could arrange to come back here another day and the client would be fine with it. And look, this client is a referral from another client, and they love my work and they're appreciative of my work, and I'm sure they'll understand if I said I need to come back another day. But my point is, guys, get here early, set up early, and relax, have some water, de-stress, check your camera settings, and just be confident. Okay, next let's talk about how I charge for these guys. Now, you know, the way you're supposed to do commercial work is you're supposed to use the licensing system and ask the client, okay, what's the territory you're going to use the images for? Like, is it national, is it statewide, is it global? And that ups the increment of what you're supposed to charge them. And then there's the duration. So you're supposed to say, look, do you want to use these images for 1 year? And they say, yeah, and then after that, you're supposed to approach them again and say, hey, your images are due for licensing renewal, and get more money out of them. Now, look, that may work on the higher end where you're doing work for Pepsi and Nike and places like that. But I have tried implementing that system before, and it is 100% of the time it is rejected by the clients. So the work I've been doing over the last 10 years has been sort of live events, corporate work where you're photographing staff, where you're photographing teams, staff Christmas parties, things like that. And even food photography, like I photographed burgers and fries for a fast food chain here in Melbourne. They don't want to hear about that licensing thing. They just say, look, just tell us what you're going to charge for the day, for the time. So you've got to, in my opinion, you've got to give the audience what they're asking for, not what you want to push on them. So what I did with this client, I said to him, how long am I going to be there? And he said, about 2 hours. And usually, if it's 2 hours on site, it's going to be another 2 hours editing. So it's going to be 4 hours, okay? So we'll call that a half day. You've got to allow for other things like insurance. You know, if I drop my camera, I think it's $500 excess I've got on my insurance claim, so I've at least got to be charging $500 as a base, and that's without making any money, right? If I damage my camera. So what I try to do is I try to find out what is a suitable price for the client and myself where we're both happy. That is the goal, guys. Find out a suitable price, a mutually agreeable price for the client and yourself where you're both happy. And I would advise you to pitch on the higher end. For this client, I didn't pitch the higher end. I pitched sort of mid to low because they're friends of another client that's a referral, and I'm hoping to get ongoing work with this client by forming a relationship. So I didn't want to come at him with a super high price where I come away going, wow, I can't believe you paid that much. I'd rather him go, you know, Will was pretty reasonable, pretty good price. I'm happy with that. So in answer to your questions, I charge 1,000 Australian dollars for this job, which is about $800 US, I think at the moment, $750 US. And I'm happy with that. I can walk away with a day's work or even a half day's work for $1,000. And anyone that's not happy with that coming out of the pandemic has got rocks in their head. They've got to have a good look at themselves. So another thing you've got to look out for on these jobs is the licensing from the venue. So let me give you an example. I was asked to photograph a corporate function. So it was at a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant in the countryside. And I turned up there at the restaurant and I had all my gear and I was there to photograph this company, you know. But this company had not cleared that with the restaurant. So the restaurant sort of looked at me, and I got there early, of course, and they looked at me and they said, well, no, we're not happy with that. You can't take photos inside of our restaurant. And that's perfectly within their rights. They own the rights to the inside of their restaurant. And my client had neglected or didn't know that they should have checked with the restaurant to get permission to bring a photographer in. So in this case, they have got permission, and because I'm photographing kids, little kids, I've also checked with the client if I can photograph the kids for the YouTube channel and video them for the YouTube channel, and the client has said, yes, you can, no worries. So just be really careful. Make sure that your client has checked that you've got permission to do commercial photography within their venue. Cheers. So this was a pretty busy shoot, guys, and because of that I didn't remember to record an outro to this vlog. But look, the client was happy. The client has paid their account and used the images on their website. I came away feeling like I've earned enough money from the gig. And look, I hope you guys have learned something from this video. If you have, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Thanks very much and have a great day.